Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. It's one of those stories that, everyone's heard of. But let's be honest, that whole waking up as a giant bug thing can feel a little intimidating. So today, we're going to break down this incredibly powerful and strange tale. We'll get right to the heart of what it says about transformation, alienation, and what it even means to be human.
And Kafka does not mess around. The story kicks off with this legendary opening line. He just throws us, and our main character Gregor, straight into this completely bizarre, impossible situation. There's no build-up, no explanation, just boom, you're a bug now, deal with it.
So what do? How do you react when you wake up and you're a giant insect? Well, Act 1 throws us right into the deep end, showing us Gregor's immediate crisis and, just outside his bedroom door, his family's growing panic as they start to realize something is very, very wrong.
And this is where we see the incredible, almost darkly funny absurdity that Kafka is so famous for. I mean, you'd think your biggest problem would be, hey, I'm a monstrous bug. But no. For Gregor, his mind is laser-focused on something else entirely. He's going to be late for work. And this disconnect right here is what makes the story so powerful.
Yeah, seriously. Instead of freaking out about his new armor-plated back or his, many pitifully thin, wriggling legs, Gregor's mind is just consumed by everyday human worries. He's thinking the train leaves at 5. He's worried about his boss, about paying off his parents' debt. He's trapped, not just in this new body, but by the same old mundane pressures of a life he literally can't lead anymore.
So while Gregor is in his room wrestling with his new bug body and his old human anxieties, the world outside is getting frantic. You can just feel the tension building. First, his mother calls out, then his father, then his sister, great. And their concern, it just skyrockets into full-blown alarm when he tries to answer them. Because what comes out isn't his voice, it's this irrepressibly painful squeaking.
And just when you think things can't get more stressful, the office manager shows up. And let's be clear, he is not there because he's worried about Gregor's health. Nope, he's there because Gregor's late. He's standing right outside the door, basically accusing Gregor of being lazy, of slacking off, even hinting that he might be dishonest. The pressure is just immense.
So Gregor, desperate to save his job, to explain himself, gives this long, detailed speech from behind the door. But to his family and the manager, all they hear is noise. The manager asks, "Did you understand a single word?" before declaring that was an animal's voice. To Gregor, his words made perfect sense. To them, he's already become something else entirely. His humanity is officially being questioned.
After what feels like an eternity of struggling, Gregor finally, painfully, gets the door open. And the result? Absolute chaos. The manager just shrieks and runs away in pure horror. His mother, she gets one look at her son and just collapses onto the floor.
And this is how the first act ends, with this incredibly brutal scene of rejection. Gregor's father, who was this weak old man, suddenly transforms into this figure of pure rage. He grabs a cane and a newspaper and just violently shoves and hisses Gregor back into the bedroom. Gregor gets injured, he's bleeding, and then the door is slammed shut. His fate is sealed.
Okay, so that brings us to Act 2, a prisoner at home. Now that he's locked away, Gregor's whole existence becomes about this deep, profound alienation, and we start to see the family dynamics shift in some really disturbing ways.
At first, his sister Great actually shows some kindness. She brings him some milk, his favorite, but when he doesn't want it, she figures out he now prefers rotting food scraps. But over time, you can see her care just sours. It becomes a resentful chore. She's shoving his food into the room with her foot. She cleans up with disgust. It's this clear, sad timeline of compassion just turning into pure repulsion.
As his human connections are basically withering away, Gregor starts adapting to his new form. And here's a strange thing. He discovers this weird sense of freedom, even a kind of happy amusement in crawling all over the walls and hanging from the ceiling. It's the one small way he can actually feel in control of this bizarre new life.
Then we hit this really crucial turning point. Greet decides that to give Gregor more space to crawl, they should take all his furniture out. But his mother objects, and her words are just heartbreaking. She understands exactly what that means. Removing his things, his human things, is like saying they're giving up all hope that he'll ever be human again.
As Great and his mother start clearing out the room, Gregor is thrown into a total panic. He scurries out and plasters his body against this one framed picture on the wall. It's a picture of a woman in furs that he'd cut out of a magazine. It's his one cherished human object, and he's making this desperate last stand to hold on to some shred of his old life.
Of course, this desperate act only leads to another huge confrontation. The father comes home, and he is a changed man. He's not feeble anymore. He's wearing this crisp bank uniform, standing tall and looking imposing. He sees Gregor out of the room, his wife fainted on the floor, and he just snaps. He starts grabbing apples from a fruit bowl and literally throwing them at his son. And one of those apples hits its mark. It gets lodged deep in Gregor's back, and no one ever dares to take it out. This apple, it's so much more than just a physical wound. It becomes this permanent, rotting symbol of his father's final violent rejection. And it marks the beginning of Gregor's slow, painful, physical decline.
And that injury carries us right into the story's tragic conclusion, into Act 3. By this point, the family's resources, we're talking financial, emotional, all of it, they're at their absolute breaking point. And their tolerance for Gregor, it's about to shatter completely.
So, Gregor's wound has made him weak and slow. Meanwhile, the family is completely overworked and exhausted. The father, the mother, the sister, they all have to work now. To make extra money, they've even rented out a room to 3 lodgers. And in this new, burdened life, Gregor isn't just a sad secret anymore. He's become this active, unbearable source of torment.
The final turning point comes one evening. Grete is playing her violin for the lodgers, and the music just completely captivates Gregor. He feels this deep, almost human longing. He's drawn out of his room, dreaming of connection, of some kind of unknown nourishment he craved. It's a beautiful and deeply sad moment.
But of course, the lodgers see him, and they're horrified. They threaten to leave. And that's when Grete, the one who cared for him the longest, delivers the final devastating blow. She turns to her parents and says decisively, "We must try to get rid of it." She won't even say his name anymore. She says she can't call this monster her brother, because if it were Gregor, he would have realized they couldn't live like this and he would have left on his own.
And when Gregor hears this, he gets it. He understands. He realizes his very existence is destroying the family he loves. So he slowly, painfully makes his way back to his room for the very last time. And his final thoughts? They're of his family, filled with deep feeling and love. He decides his own disappearance is the best thing for everyone. And as the sun comes up, he dies.
The next morning, the cleaning woman finds his flat, dry body and just casually announces, "It's kicked the bucket." And the family's reaction? Well, it's not sadness, it's not grief, it is immense, undeniable relief. The father says, "Now we can give thanks to God." A huge weight has just been lifted from their shoulders.
The family's own transformation is just immediate. You can see it so clearly. With Gregor, they were trapped, hopeless, and exhausted. But without him, they feel relieved, they feel free. They immediately start making plans for a better, brighter future. All of a sudden, their lives seem full of promise. So, the family takes the day off. They go out into the warm sunshine, filled with these new dreams. And they look at their daughter, Gret, stretching her young body, and they think, you know, it's time we found her a good husband. So the story ends not with Gregor, but with his family's rebirth, which leaves us with this huge, unsettling question. Gregor's body changed into a bug overnight for sure, but was the truly monstrous transformation the one that happened so slowly to his family?